Hello and welcome to That's the Point, construction, positioning, technology. It's what we talk about here each and every time out. My name is Corey Meyer, joined by someone much smarter than me, Jeremy Horn. What's up?
I wouldn't go that far.
No, man, I want to set the table. I've adjusted the expectations. All right, so let's jump into it. And today we're specifically going to talk about scanning again, and even more specifically, we're going to be talking about reporting and really visualization in FieldLink, because today we are finally jumping into the topic of heat maps.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is something that we now can do at FieldLink right in the field, right when we're done scanning, and really get a good idea of what we're looking at. Where this is going to be used the most, I think, is for our concrete guys who kind of get an idea of what a slab is doing or after a pour, right? So it gives us that ability to do the scan and then right away just have a good idea of what's going on out there.
Yeah, and it's really, I mean, it's kind of changed the way that we look at scanning on live sites, so it definitely does it. So real time, you're going to just do that, and we're going to talk about floor analysis real quick.
Yeah, so what you see already on the screen is our deck after we've done a few scans, right? So now we're ready to go ahead and dive in and see what we're looking at. The first thing we want to do is extract the floor, though, because we want to get rid of all the other miscellaneous stuff sticking up and out and just look at that area and what we have. So where we're going to go to first, we're going to go to scan and then floor analysis. From there, if you look all the way over to the right above the little lowercase I, you'll see a little icon that kind of looks like a floor, right? So we select that, and you're going to see a plus button. That's where we're adding a new floor file, because it's actually going to cut that up and then create a file. So if I hit that button, brings me my segmentation box. I then will just drag this to the area that I want to do. So we'll just kind of shorten this up here a little bit. It does need to be at least 320 square feet for the software to work it there. So now we've got that kind of cut up into a nice clean little spot. And then we hit the little download button. Give it a second.
And voila, through the magic of editing, we waited so you don't have to.
Yeah. Well, now we see our floor. So it's nice, clean, what we segmented out there. And now we're ready to go through and look at our data. So if we go back to the map now and go to the ribbon icon to the left with our cloud settings, or view settings, I should say. Right now we're in grayscale. We're going to skip this into our elevation view. Our elevation view is now going to give us a nice, pretty heat map.
Look at that.
Right next to that icon, though, as well, you'll see another, basically the same icon, but with a little pin on it. If we hit that, we can edit basically what our scale is, what we're seeing. So looking at here, in this case, we have our actual elevation, and we have a range of 1 inch. So that range is what our scale bar is over here to the left. So we know anything that is green is going to be from our 0. As it starts to go to light blue and blue, it's going to go up a 1/4 inch. Red, is going to be high all the way up. So it gives us we can play around with that on however we want to view that scale. But here already, as you can see, we kind of got a pretty good idea of what's going on here on this deck.
Yep. And then you can pick and change that reference elevation just like that. So you can actually pick what you kind of think is your baseline that you want to measure from high or low. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
It makes sense. And then that's a traditional heat map. That's something that we would typically do in Trimble RealWorks. But now you can actually use that while you're still live in the field. And what you were saying to take it a step further from the previous video is you can actually lay out points from this as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we learned on the last video is we can just select a spot in the scan and then create a point, which then can be used to lay out. So we can do the same thing right here. So if I quickly just go right over to my lowercase I and then tap a spot, let's say this red high spot here on the map.
That's the spot I was going to pick.
Yeah. So it shows our coordinates, shows our elevation, but then there's our button for create point. So now we've created the point there. I can send that back to the office for them to see the elevation of that high spot. I can use my total station layout, or even better, if it makes sense, I can take my X7 right now, select that point, and have the X7 point, the laser pointer, right at it.
Right, and then you've got live layout like right on the site where you can actually see where that point of interest is. Now, let's say we wanted to take this to 11, right? You can also do not just 1 point, but you can also do full grid exports now, right?
Right, correct. So again, going back, we're going to click back on our scan icon, floor analysis. We're going to make sure we have our floor selected that we want. In this case, is floor 2, right? Then you will see on the bottom the little icon, the second one from the left, looks almost like a golf green or something, but it's meant to show contour lines. If I select that, I bring up some options. Select the edit button in the middle. Here's where I select, yep, this is how I select my grid. Right now it's at a foot. We're gonna do 2 feet for the purposes of the video, speed up the process a little bit. You know, tolerances and stuff at this point I'm really not worried about because we're not using this as a heat map. We're really just using it to create points. So once I've got that, I can hit generate, and now it's going to start to generate my grid. Now it's on an inch. So if we look at our bar over here.
All right, so, and again, through the magic of editing, voila, there we go, magic.
So yeah, it's generated my grid now. I am going to change my view back to the grayscale just so we can kind of see this a little better. So you'll see it generated some grid lines there, which makes sense. But we really aren't that worried about this in this case. We want to create those points. So over to the right, you'll see finalize. So once I do that, it finalizes my grid, gives me some proposed points. Now you'll see a create button. We want to hit that, and now it's going to create our points for us. So point creation successful. And you'll see now if we zoom in here, now we see actual points. It will name them just automated, but more importantly, it actually shows us the elevations. I'm going to go here in our settings and turn our scan off here for a moment just so we can get a better view of these. So now you'll see here's all of our grid points. And as we zoom in, we will see the actual...
And you can turn that elevation and the name on and off just by clicking on the elevations button or any of the stuff in that view tab.
Absolutely.
Cool. But there it is. Wow, a complete grid labeled out. And so now you can share, 500 points instead of 17 million points. And it's a lot easier for some guys in the office to maybe work with that data or someone else that you're collaborating with.
Or even a screenshot just shows exactly what because it's showing us our elevations, anybody can really read this at any time.
Yeah, I can read it. I'm definitely everybody. So, okay, so that's a lot of capability that historically we would have had to do back in the office or at the very least on a laptop in the trailer. Very cool, man. Thanks, you made it.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So, of course, if you have any additional questions, your Building Point representative is ready and willing to lend a hand. And don't forget, smash that subscribe button to stay up to date with the latest tips, tricks, and pointers. We'll see you next time on That's the Point.